The hangar doors were open to the evening, the last of the sunset coming through in long orange bars across the polished concrete floor, and Rachel Voss stood with her arm extended like a gate coming down. "You're no longer needed," she said. The man she said it to was walking toward the exit already, tool case in hand, back to her. And he didn't stop when she said it. He just kept walking, steady and unhurried. The walk of someone who had heard words like that before and had found a way to carry them without letting them slow his feet. His name was Tom Mercer. He had been the lead maintenance engineer on the Voss Aviation Gulfstream G700 for 3 years. Before that, 18 years with 2 commercial carriers. Before that, 8 years as an Air Force crew chief on platforms he wasn't permitted to discuss in detail. He was 44 years old. He had a son named Jake, who was 11, who lived with him, who had a science project due on Friday that Tom had been quietly helping him with in the evenings because the project involved propulsion systems, and Tom happened to know a few things about those. He walked out of the hangar and drove home and made dinner and helped with the propulsion project and did not that evening think very much about Rachel Voss or the team of specialists she had brought in to replace him. He had done the job well. He knew the aircraft. Whatever came next would come next. The team that replaced him was impressive on paper. 8 engineers from a specialist aviation consultancy, certified across 6 different platforms, carrying equipment that cost more than most small aircraft. Rachel had contracted them through her head of operations, a man named Gerald, who had wanted to modernize the maintenance program for 2 years and had finally found his moment. They arrived the morning after Tom left, set up their laptops and diagnostic equipment, ran the first full systems check on the G700. The aircraft was grounded for a fuel flow anomaly that Tom had flagged 3 weeks ago and that Rachel had classified as a lower priority behind the maintenance program review she had been planning. The anomaly was still there. The new team's diagnostic equipment confirmed it clearly. Finding it and fixing it were different problems. On the 3rd day, Gerald gave Rachel a status report that she received in the particular way she received unwelcome information, without visible reaction, processing it behind steady eyes. The anomaly was in the fuel distribution system. Not catastrophic, not in the range of immediate danger, but not resolved and not straightforwardly resolvable with the diagnostic approaches the team had tried. Each methodology they applied produced clean results that didn't match the anomaly's behavior. Something in the aircraft's specific configuration was interacting with the standard diagnostic protocols in ways that produced unclear data. "How long?" Rachel asked. "Conservatively, another week," Gerald said. "Maybe 10 days. The aircraft had been grounded for 3 days. Rachel had 2 international meetings and a board presentation that required travel, all of which had been restructured around an expected 2-day resolution. "What's the alternative?" she said. Gerald didn't have one. That was why he looked the way he looked. She called Tom Mercer on a Thursday evening. He answered after 2 rings. "Ms. Voss," he said, not surprised. "The anomaly," she said, without preamble because preamble felt wrong given what she was about to ask. "The team has been working it for 3 days." "I know. Gerald called me yesterday to ask some questions about the fuel system history." Rachel paused. "Gerald called you?" "Yes. I told him what I could over the phone. It wasn't enough, sounds like." She looked at the aircraft across the hangar, surrounded by 8 specialists and their equipment, grounded and quiet. "I need to ask you something," she said. "I know," Tom said. "Will you come back?" Silence for a moment. "My son has a science project due tomorrow," he said. "I need to be there when he presents it. It's at 2. I need the aircraft for a Friday morning departure. I can be there by 6 a.m. If the problem is what I think it is, I'll have it resolved before your departure window." Another pause. "What do you think it is?" she asked. "I'd rather look at it first," he said. "I don't want to tell you something definitive over the phone about an aircraft." That was the answer of a man who was careful in the ways that mattered. 6 a.m., she said. "I'll be there." He arrived at 5:58 carrying the same tool case he'd left with 4 days ago. The 8-person team was already there, having worked through the previous evening. They looked at Tom the way professionals look at the return of someone their presence was meant to replace, a mixture of professional curiosity and something more complicated than that. Tom looked at the aircraft. He set his tool case down and walked to the G700 alone, without equipment, and put his hand on the fuselage near the engine nacelle for a moment, in the way someone touches something they know well. Then he crouched and looked at the underside of the aircraft near the fuel system access panel. He stood up. "There's a calibration offset in the fuel flow sensor specific to this aircraft's engine pairing," he said to no one in particular. "It was introduced during the last sensor replacement 18 months ago. The offset is documented in my maintenance logs, but it's not in the standard spec sheet, so any diagnostic run against factory parameters is going to generate anomalous readings that don't resolve because you're measuring against the wrong baseline." The lead specialist from the contracted team, a man named Harrison who had 20 years and certifications from 3 different regulatory bodies, looked at Tom. "That would explain the diagnostic inconsistency," Harrison said slowly. "Yes," Tom said. "The underlying system is fine. You've been treating a documentation issue as a mechanical problem." Harrison was quiet for a moment. "How long have you known about the offset?" "Since I introduced it, 18 months ago. It was the correct adjustment for this specific pairing. I documented it in the maintenance file." Tom picked up his tool case, which I left in Gerald's office when I left on Monday, along with a note that the fuel anomaly flag should be read against the adjusted baseline, not the factory spec. The hangar was very quiet. Rachel, who had come in at 6 a.m. and had been standing near the office entrance listening, took a moment to understand what had just been said. "The file was in Gerald's office," she said. "Yes." "For 4 days." "Yes." Gerald, standing to Rachel's left, developed a specific expression. The aircraft started at 8:12 a.m. Tom ran the systems check, confirmed the fuel flow readings against the documented baseline, and cleared the aircraft for departure in the time it took the contracted team to pack the equipment they had spent 3 days deploying. Rachel stood in the hangar after the specialists had gone and looked at Tom, who was documenting the morning's work in the maintenance log with the steady, unhurried handwriting she had seen on 3 years of entries. "I owe you an apology," she said. He looked up. "For which part?" It was a fair question. She took a moment to answer it properly. "For the way I let you go. For not asking you to brief the incoming team on the specific history of this aircraft. For not checking Gerald's office before we went 3 days past when we needed to." She paused. "For treating the relationship as replaceable when the thing that was irreplaceable was the knowledge you'd built over 3 years that doesn't exist anywhere except in your documentation and your head." Tom looked at her for a moment. "The documentation is good," he said. "It's all in there. Someone just needed to read it. I should have made sure they did." "Yes," he said simply, not unkindly, just accurately. She appreciated that. She had surrounded herself for 15 years with people who softened accurate statements into something more comfortable. It was, she had come to understand, one of the more expensive habits of her professional life. "I want to offer you your position back," she said. "Formally. Better terms than before. And I want a seat at the table when we design any future transition, if there ever is one, so that what you know doesn't walk out the door with you next time." Tom closed the maintenance log. "My son presents his science project at 2, he said. "Go," Rachel said. "The aircraft is fine. Be there at 2. He picked up his tool case. "I'll have my answer about the position Monday," he said. "That's fair." He walked toward the hangar exit. The same walk as 4 days ago, steady, unhurried. No performance of triumph in it. Just a man who had done the job correctly and knew it and didn't need anyone else to narrate that. At the exit, he stopped. "The project is about fuel flow systems," he said, without turning. "Jake picked it himself. I didn't suggest it." Rachel looked at the aircraft, at the maintenance log on the table, at the empty space where 8 specialists and their equipment had been 3 hours ago. "He'll do well," she said. "He will," Tom said, and walked out into the morning. Jake's project won 2nd place in his grade, which he considered a minor injustice involving a judge who clearly didn't understand propulsion the way he did. Tom told him second place was excellent. Jake told him the first place project was about volcanoes, which were basically just explosions and not technically about systems at all. Tom agreed that systems were more interesting than explosions as a general principle. They drove home and made dinner, and Tom answered 3 emails about the Monday decision and looked at his son across the table and thought about 3 years of maintenance logs sitting in a cabinet that nobody had read until the aircraft was already grounded. Some knowledge doesn't transfer on a spreadsheet. Some things you have to earn through time and attention, and the specific willingness to document what you know even when nobody seems to be reading. And sometimes the most important thing a person can do is walk steadily toward the exit and trust that what they built will still be there when it's needed. It always was.